Hey, it's Nick Granville here, so just here to talk to you today about the Keeley Eccos pedal. I really dig this pedal, I think it's pretty cool. That's been my initial impressions. I've had it for a couple of weeks now and I've taken it out to a bunch of gigs and I've used it for a couple of little recording things, and it's really been a pretty ideal pedal for what I do. So I just thought I'd talk about that today. So I'm running into a Victoria 2112, which is a Tweed Deluxe. Dead clean amp. It's barely even on, so there's no distortion coming from there. I've got the Eccos on my pedal board, and I've got a Flint, which I'm just adding a little bit of reverb. This is the reverb, for example, because without it would be this. So just, that's all you're hearing. Tone that I'd commonly use. So I'll be on the bridge pickup and I'm using a BB preamp with the gain maxed out, and then I'd use this delay sound to just broaden the sound a little bit. I'm not using it to make any sound, it's really just a texture. You really only hear it when I stop playing, when I play like a note, if I slide off. A little bit of that, and it just kind of broadens it. Everything's a mono at the moment, even though this pedal will run stereo. If I have the overdrive off, this is what you get. So it's a little more pronounced, but even then, not much. So for the next sound I'm going to show you, this is a sound that I use a bit as well, and this is something I require from delay pedals all the time. And this is kind of like it's an ambient texture. So as you can hear, once I hit the chord, then the delays come through and they're almost on par in terms of level of the sound. So you can hear with the depth up, that's creating some crazy wobbliness. With flanger, if you have your rate low, it's kind of almost like a chorus. As you can hear. Of course, if I turn the rate up high, so that's a sound I'd probably never use unless I was doing something quirky, but that's I guess exterminate, right? Like Doctor Who, the dialect, so. Right, and the third sound that I'd use this for is what I call that kind of Pink Floyd, Run Like Hell, U2 type sound. So really without the flanging, but it's just kind of, it's pretty loud, and it's kind of almost an analog delay. So you can see that's a pretty cool kind of sound as well. So that's not really my crazy ambient kind of sound, but that's more like a direct effect kind of sound that I'll use. And those are the three main things I want from delay pedals. So the basic features of this pedal, I'll go through it. So you have stereo in, you have mono here, and then you have your stereo in. You can use it in mono, you can use it in stereo. So you have mono out, and then you have stereo out, so you can run it. So you don't just have to use this for guitar, you can use it for a keyboard, use it for whatever. You have an expression pedal where you can control various parameters. That's pretty straightforward. And then you have a remote. Now, I'm not totally sure what the remote does for, I'll have to check the manual, but it's probably not something I'm ever gonna use. But you have bypass, which is just your standard, turn the effect on or off. Tap switch, so tap tempo. Now this is the only pedal I've seen that's this size that has tap tempo on a delay. Usually they're bigger. I'm sure they're probably out there, but this is the one that I've seen that has it, and I love that. I have to have tap tempo. Tap tempo for me is really big. I want the delays to blend, and they do that when they're rhythmically in time. Once they're even just slightly out, it bugs me. I mean, I'm a very rhythmic kind of player. You have your three controls across the top, which is time, feedback, and blend, which is standard kind of delay settings. Then you have your rate and your depth. And your rate is like your speed of your flange, and your depth is how much, right? And then when you double tap that feedback switch, that takes you into looper, so it goes from delay into looper. And that's pretty cool. And then there's a status switch. You have this other switch which will do that as well. You have presets, so you can set up 3 different presets, which I really dig. And it runs on standard 9 volt. So nothing really unusual about that, but very cool that it doesn't draw a huge amount of power. So at the moment I'm using a One Spot Pro on my board, and it has no problem with this and amongst everything else. Okay, so the size is one of the big things I dig about this. Tap tempo is a must. I gotta have that. That's just me. The delays are warm, but they're not muddy. I find some of the old analog delays to be too muddy. This is kind of a nice medium. It's not your digital sound, and it's not your dark analog sound like a Boss DM, is it DM2, is that what it's called? But some of those old analog delays can be pretty dark. This is kind of, for me, somewhere in the middle, so it's about right. Okay, so a real bonus of this pedal is that it has a looper built into it. And that's actually something that I use quite a bit. I'll get to a gig and I'll set up a sound or a loop or something, and then I put my guitar down and I go and have a listen out the front when I'm at the gig. And I really want to see is what does my guitar sound like by the time it's being mic'd. And the amount of times I've gone out the front and the sound guy has done something crazy, like, wound all the bottom end off the guitar, for example, so there's no bass and it's all just treble and thin and nasty. Well, now I can go and have a listen and just say to him, hey, look, just maybe set the EQ a little flatter and the guitar will sound better. And 9 times out of 10, most sound guys are pretty reasonable, and they're into that. They want it to sound good just like I do. And how you get to the looper is you double tap on the feedback switch. So you double tap on the feedback switch, and that will get you through to the looping part. So I've set up this little loop, which you can hear now. And then you can bypass that by double tapping the switch. And one of the cool things that I found is once you set up a loop too, if you do that on the gig, you can actually hold down the tap switch and it will reverse the loop. So here's the loop. Another cool bonus feature of this pedal that it's not something I was expecting, but is really, really cool, is if you're in the delay mode, so not in the looper mode anymore, but in the delay mode, and I hold down the tap button, the pedal will self-oscillate. So here's your normal delay. right? So that's your normal delays. Now I'm going to hold down the tap button while the delays are going, and you'll hear it oscillate, self-oscillate, and the sound will build up because it's just building on itself. Now you have to be really careful of that because as you heard, it ramps up and it ramps up and it's just going to keep going until it hits the ceiling, and that's going to be like crazy loud. Now I did hear from Rob Keeley that he said they're actually going to come up with a mod for this pedal so you can set how loud the self-oscillating thing will go. So that's pretty cool. It's bulletproof, I reckon. I haven't had this for long. I've had it for a couple of weeks. As you can see, I put Velcro on it. It's been in my pedal board. But I was surprised. These knobs look like they're plastic, but they're not. They're actually metal, and they're really smooth. For me, that's really important because I'm a working musician, so I'm on the road. Pedal boards are getting chucked around all over the place. They're going in road cases. Sometimes I get there and the crew thinks they helped you out by taking your pedal board out of the road case. You find that they just dumped it on the ground, and sometimes they just drop it. And all your pedals get stuck, gets broken. So this feels like something that's going to last. Downsides to it. Not much, really. The only downside I would say is now I want to have a second one. Because I'd love to have one where I'd have my solo sound, as I talked about, and then also have one that's kind of a crazy maxed out effects kind of thing and have that all in there. And maybe that's something I could set up with an expression pedal to change that somehow. I don't know, something I have to experiment, but having two of these would be even better. They're not cheap, but I reckon it's totally worth it. And it's the closest I've heard to that tape flanging kind of thing that they do. Because tape, if you've ever heard real tape delays, it's not consistent. They do weird things, like 30 seconds into the tape being used, things will they glitch and they're real. That's why. And this does that. It's not kind of hard and clinical. It's very musical. So yeah, the Keeley Eccos. I hope you really dig it. I'll play it out. I'll play some stuff. So remember to like and subscribe this video and share it on your social medias and all that stuff. And to do with this coronavirus thing that's going around at the moment is, it's pretty tough for us musicians. So, look after each other and be cool.